All right, what's up, everybody? Ty here. This is not an episode of the Link Up. We just did that, so now we want to do a community check-in. As you guys see, it's just me. All of my co-hosts are busy; they are working right now, making sure that the community is taken care of, and all the resources are still at your fingertips. So they sent me to have a conversation with someone who I am a big fan of, that I've known for a while now. Percy, it's been a minute. We've known each other for quite some time. But I want to introduce Percy from the LA LGBT Center on the show. So round of applause for that. Percy, thank you so much for sitting down and having a conversation with us. So what is going on at the LGBT Center?
Well, good afternoon, Ty.
Hi.
Here at the LA LGBT Center South, we have a lot of different activities going on. With the whole COVID-19 pandemic, it kind of slowed us down, but we're back to reopening. So our current schedule is Monday through Friday, 10 to 7 p.m. We're offering appointment-based HIV testing. Every Friday in the month of November, we're distributing hot meals as well as pantry goods. On every other month outside November, our pantry is open every second and fourth Friday of the month for people to access produce and pantry goods. Most of our programs are directed towards the young men of color. So most of our interventions are offered either in person with a very small groups of five or less, or they're offered online through our virtual platforms. You can get a lot of our information just by shooting us an email at Center South at lalgbt.org or calling in at 323-860-3799. Even though we don't provide STI testing on site, we do provide transportation to our location or our WeHo site to get STI. And we also, the regular navigation around like housing, homelessness, um, access to employment, access to healthcare, whether it be HIV care or general healthcare.
Nice. Well, one, welcome back since you guys are opening up and everything is kind of starting to settle in and whatnot. And you guys are keeping everyone COVID safe, which I think is the most important thing in the world is, trying to run, STD, HIV prevention services in a food pantry. And the process of COVID-19 has been, I'm sure, very difficult, making sure that everyone gets the resources and stuff that they need. So kudos to you guys over at the LGBT Center. Percy, I want to ask you a question. How are you holding up during this election? Like, what is going on? Like, why are we not done yet? Like, how are you feeling during all of this?
I mean, at first on the third, I was really nervous. My nerves was really bad, and that was
Okay.
just because the anticipation of foolishness. Like the anticipation of
Yes.
people going out in the streets and acting a fool, which
Yes.
it's just not going to bring us anywhere forward by doing that. That's not to have anyone associate what I'm talking about with, the other demonstrations that are happening, like around Black Lives Matter,
Two very
trans
different
rights.
things.
It's
Yep.
two very different things. I
Hmm.
talk to people that want to do about it and right, do things because they felt the candidate that they voted for wasn't making the progress they needed to the polls.
Hmm.
At this point, which is Thursday today, I'm very much like, just count the votes. Just count the votes and get done.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
yeah, because I just feel like one, the more you count the votes, the more validity it will be to whoever wins the race.
Hmm.
Two, we won't have this underbelly of this kind of like bubbling tension and people trying to enact this craziness and foolishness on the ballot counting spaces and just across the nation. I just think this is really an example and understanding that one, average Americans do not understand the voting system in the U.S.
It's very
So,
true.
and two, it just it just makes me realize that even though we do good work, like around policies and around kind of trying to distribute the wealth of city budgets and stuff like that, we also have to understand how to play politics, especially
Mhm.
with LGBT, within the Black community, within a lot of the marginalized and disenfranchised community. We need to really understand what the game of politics is, how to lobby for our causes, how to back our politicians. Because I was just saying this morning to some of my friends at the LGBT Center, I was saying, you know, we need to learn how to align our money because we
Yes.
live we live in a money driven system, and where you see individuals like Joe Biden, for example, has been in political power for at least more than half of my life, more than half of your life. Like I think his political career is about 45 years or more. And
It's a
it-
yeah.
yeah, on Capitol Hill. And
Mhm.
then, we celebrate things like, oh, the first black, the first woman, the first non binary. But how are we effectively as a community think about how we can hold that space for 45 years. You know what
Absolutely.
I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because I think
Yeah.
true power really aligns, like until we dismantle the system, and true power aligns with money. And we have to understand how we're going to have our collective monies back our power in on Capitol Hill and in the White
Mhm.
House.
And then also, I guess, would you agree also holding those people accountable for the
Yeah,
promises that they say for the black vote,
yeah.
for the trans vote, for the gay vote, for the whatever vote it is, holding those people accountable for the promises that they give us during their campaigns.
I think it's holding them to the fire when they do make promises, but
Hmm.
also understanding the nuances of politics once again, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because no one's in politics for 40 years without some blood on their hands. I'll say that.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
somebody, even I love Auntie Meg, but I know have to give a all throughout her career. So like we have to understand that. When people say the black agenda and what's good for black folks, yes, we do need to make a definitive understanding of what the plan for black folks is. Yes, we need to make that same plan for LGBT identities and orientations, but we do need to understand about what are the degrees of that plan? When I say the degrees of the plan, like what's the first strike? What's the second strike? What's
Absolutely.
like how do we replan and readjust? Because I think we often tend to be like, okay, we didn't hit a home run, so there was no success. I think it's very much unpacking what the successes and the losses are in each of these kind of like rounds, and then especially when we're talking about like these voting seasons around primaries, around presidential elections, or even around like mayoral and gubernatorial elections. Like getting
Yeah.
really involved on each level of government because the president really, I always say the president really don't function for me. Like
Mhm.
we don't think about corporations, we don't support the national infrastructure when it comes to like, commodities and investments. So like what the president does is really move the top tier money around. But we need to be
Yeah.
focused on who's that governor, who's that mayor, who's that district attorney,
Absolutely.
like
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. I think that so many people don't realize that those are the important elections.
yeah.
Those are the people that actually make, decisions when it comes down to communities that one we live in and that we serve.
And even like just like, how many of us know what the job of a city councilman is and how effective a city councilman
Right.
can be in your local district and neighborhood, right? Like
Mhm.
everything begins at home. And even when we're having that conversation, about how many black folks vote for Trump, how many Latino, LGBTQ, and then like the white women. But
Mhm.
definitively, people say, "Oh, well, I'm tired of being people teachers." Well, this is the work. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. I
First,
love that you just said that too. Yes. It is. This is the
yeah,
work. We
you
we
know,
educate. We educate. That's our jobs.
yeah. And then like with the Trump administration, I think for a long time, America just lived in a space of respectability. Like, as long as I respect you, you respect me, and then you could go home and call me whatever you want and be very divisive about your politics and the
Mhm.
and the work. But I think he did a good job of unveiling the fact that we have not went anywhere past, the Civil Rights Act of 1967. We haven't went anywhere past, Brown v. the Board of Education. We haven't went past anywhere Loving versus Virginia. Like we still have these animosities in these countries that we don't want to face head on and say, look, we do live in a racist country that was built off of racist systems, and how do we dismantle those systems, and how do we create equitable spaces for people? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's actually so. One, if you are watching this, that is the gospel. This is why I come to Percy because Percy will tell it to you raw, and I'm surprised he has not cursed, but Percy will tell it to you raw, and it will literally be like something that you need to hear. Like, how do you feel in regards to like? So I know while we're all waiting for the election, and with everything
Mhm.
that you just said, given, how are you feeling in regards to like maintaining your mental health and trying not to get to a place of pure anxiety during the process of this?
I have to go check myself into a little therapy, a little mental health because
Okay.
you know people don't realize like we all have coping mechanisms. We
Yeah.
all have ways that we kind of manage our levels of stress. But with the pandemic, the
Hmm.
administration, this election, trying to manage and navigate a full time job, trying to manage and
Yeah.
navigate a relationship, trying to navigate like family dynamics and checking in on people across the country. Child, that's a lot.
Just
And
levels of just
yeah,
stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
and I
No,
was
it is.
yeah, and I really want to engage in therapeutic like mental health services because like if I didn't, I would be somewhere drinking. I know a lot of my friends have been uptaking alcohol. No shade,
I've had several shots since yesterday. Not at work, but several
fantastic.
shots
But
at home. Yes.
and me preferably, just being transparent about myself, maybe. Um, I done went from two blunts to eight tonight, like baby, just
Listen, just knocking them back. Like and these are coping mechanisms, right? And we try to
yeah,
do certain things in moderation, but the stress
yeah.
has just been so much. So that's why mental health is extremely important, just trying to make sure that we have one, a support system, because that's important, one, and then two, as people of color, someone that we can have those kind of conversations with where we can get some sort of assistance with the way that we process certain
Yeah.
things. If it comes off as like, either unhealthy or we're like, oh, maybe we shouldn't do so much of X, Y, and Z, right? I
Yeah,
could imagine who's going through what, during the process of this election. It's been fluctuating for like the past, what, 48 hours?
yeah, and like that's tension. Like I've been even had to stop watching the post. Like I was in here
Yeah.
again. It's Thursday today. I was in here on Tuesday telling my staff, turn that damn thing off. Stop.
We don't want to see that today. We don't want to see that today. Yeah.
Oh, 89%, 10.3%.
Right, right. I've been literally low key like forcing myself to watch other things that make me like happy. Like yesterday I watched like a whole like season of Insecure because I'm just like if I go to any other channel during the process of this, it's going to be this person's about to win this state. And it's like, well, why haven't they won it yet? So that we can go on with our
Look,
lives.
I've been telling people I've been binge watching all of my animes, like
Yes.
Netflix, Hulu. Like I just been
Yes.
binge watching anything that I can watch in a continual stream and not be interrupted by any political commentary, commercials.
Right,
I
right.
was like, that's what I'm doing.
Yes, yes. And you know what? I want to encourage people. I'm glad that you said that. I want to encourage people to always make sure that at the end of the day, when you are looking to escape from something, you're doing something that you enjoy, something that's safe, something that you can sit down and vibe in. And vibe
Mhm.
is very important during these times, and we are living in some crazy times right now. Now, listen, Percy, I don't want to keep you too long because I know you got to get back to saving the world. I wanted to thank you again so much for having this brief conversation, of course, but you will be coming on the link very, very soon to talk about more stuff in the community because I am the biggest fan of Percy. Like, I follow Percy just 100%. So, give them the food bank information one more time, and then I'll
So
let you go.
in the month of November, we'll be having pantry services and hot meal services every Friday in November. That is the 6th, the 13th, to the 20th. On the 24th of November, we'll have a special holiday meal to reflect Thanksgiving and sharing in the community.
Nice.
And then after the month of November, excuse me, we'll go back to our regular schedule to every second and fourth Friday of food pantry and hot meal services.
Thank you so much. Listen, Percy from the LGBT Center. If you don't know who Percy is, please look him up. Please hit him up. He is a abundance of resources. He has been abundance of resources since I started at APLA Health, and he has helped me navigate several different situations where I'm like, I need Percy. So yes, please look up Percy. If you are near the LGBT Center, if you have any more questions for Percy, his information is right here, and you can also find him on Facebook, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, you can find me everywhere.
Everywhere. Listen, if you need something, Percy got it.
Just beware of what platform you engage me on because I am.
Listen, same here. Same here. Same here. I prefer you go through my work email.
Yeah. Hello.
Okay.
My pastor's on Facebook. Go to that Facebook.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, listen, Percy, thank you guys so much for watching this and checking in with us. The election has been pretty crazy, but we're all here for each other. We're all here having conversations. Be sure to tune into the link. We will return next Tuesday, and Percy will be a guest coming up. So make sure you keep watching the link so that we can get Percy back on here so he can keep us laughing. So stay safe, stay
All
COVID
right.
free, and try to be as sane as possible. And we will catch you guys later. Thank you, Percy. I
All
love
right. See you later. Late time.
you.